Good day! We are the group tour from City of Malabon University taking Bachelor of Science in Management Accounting. For today's discussion, we will focus on science education in the Philippines. But before anything else, what is science education? Science education has the potential for helping the development of the required abilities and understanding by focusing on developing powerful ideas of science and ideas about the nature of scientific activity and its applications. Scientific literacy refers to an individual's scientific knowledge and its use. Science education aims to develop students' scientific inquiry skills, values, and attitudes such as objectivity, curiosity, and honesty, and habits of mind including critical thinking. All these are useful to the individual student for his or her own personal development, future career, and life in general. So, pinag-uusapan natin dito ay yung science education sa Pilipinas. So, the Philippines is trying its best to improve the state of science education in the country. Our lesson will discuss the concept of science education and will identify some strategies to promote science education in the country.
The field of science education comprehends work in science content, science processes, and some social science and teaching technique. Yung science education, minimeasure nito yung kakayahan ng isang tao, katulad na lang sa pag-observe, pag-classify, pag-measure, at understanding ng isang tao based sa kung ano yung nakikita nila, ano yung nararanasan nila sa buhay, at kung paano nila ito mai-apply. During the pre-Spanish period, before the Spaniards came in the Philippine island, the Filipinos know how to use medicine. Yung paggawa nila ng medicine ay galing sa herbal at ito ay ine-extract nila. At yung mga doktor, tawag nila doon ay babaylan at halos lahat ng babaylan ay babae. I know all of you are familiar in Banawe Rice Terraces na located sa Ifugao. Binuild nila ito para ma-provide yung needs nila sa pang-araw-araw, katulad na lang sa pagkain. Ito yung example ng engineering products during the pre-Spanish era. Strategies on teaching science education. Meron akong 4 na example dito ng kung paano yung strategies ng pagtuturo ng science. Dapat yung subject ay mas enjoyable dahil yung mga estudyante, mabilis sila maboring or mabaling yung attention nila sa iba. Yung educators or teacher, dapat alam nila or may capacity sila na magturo ng science education. Sa pag-a-apply, dapat hindi lang sila magbe-base sa textbook, dapat meron din silang application. At focus on skill, not in memorization.
The concept of science education. Science education is the field of science that involves teaching pedagogy science in an effective way that involves exploring pedagogical theories and models. Nung narinig ko yung term na pedagogy, hindi ako familiar, so I looked it up in the internet sa meaning neto to understand the text furthermore. Based on search ko, pedagogical theory is the study of theory and practice of education. Concern siya sa values na nakakaapekto sa approach natin in learning at saka sa approach natin in teaching. So, bakit nga ba importante yung science sa education? Well, science help us as students in critical thinking skills na kailangan natin in every subject. Science is in everywhere. Yung pagkain natin, pagluto natin, paghinga, pagtulog, lahat yan may involvement ng science. It involves learning and understanding science. Learning the concept in science help us, students, understand deeply and love science. So, eto, may na-search akong quote sa internet about science. When a child says, "Science is boring," I cringe. Science is the world and that's far from boring. And I agree kasi science is everywhere nga. Lahat ng ginagawa natin, hobbies, it involves science. Yung hobbies mo ng panlalaro, hobbies mo sa music, sa art, lahat yon may involved siya ng science. So if you think science is boring, para sa akin, you don't understand it deeply.
Understanding science means we develop and apply science process skills. Observing, classifying, communicating, measuring, inferring, and predicting. Ito ay kabilang sa mga skills na ginagamit ng mga scientists, teachers, and students when doing science. Siguro naman most sa atin na-experience na gawin tong science process skills, especially when doing science experiments na pinakonduct ng teacher natin. In my experience, we did an experiment using onion. Yung ilalagay yung onion sa microscope para i-observe yung structure niya. After that, ika-classify na ng teacher kung ano yung mga tawag or name na na-observe ng student. Then, mako-communicate na ng buong class yung findings and information na natanggap nila. John Dewey stressed the importance of utilizing the natural environment to teach students. The place or environment is very important in teaching students. Today, classes are conducted virtually like what is happening right now. Wala tayo sa classroom, we don't see our professor nor our classmates physically, and I think this setup or situation will make us understand Dewey's philosophy. Oo, meron pa rin tayong natututunan in online classes, but the feel, satisfaction, and overall experience is very different than having a natural environment where we can learn as students and exercise science process skills actively. This is why natural environment is essential in science education and also education itself. Science education is one of the most important subjects in school due to its relevance to students' lives and the universally applicable problem-solving and critical thinking skills it uses and develops. Hindi lang basta importante ang science education and science itself, since kaakibat ng pang-araw-araw na buhay natin ang science, malaki ang nagiging tulong nito for our daily life's convenience and efficiency. We don't need to go deeper to understand why is it important. We can just look at our surroundings and we can find the things that are explained by science and or a product of science.
The concept of science education is justified by the great amount of scientific knowledge to adopting scientifically and technologically. Alam naman po natin kapag nababanggit yung salitang science is pumapasok agad sa isip natin yung mga respiratory system, digestive system, endocrine system, at iyon po ay halimbawa ng pag-aaral sa loob ng katawan ng tao. Meron ding planet, facts, and beliefs, at marami pa pong iba. And when it comes to technology naman po, is papasok din agad sa isip natin yung mga devices na palagi nating hawak or ginagamit sa pang-araw-araw, kagaya ng cellphone, TVs, at marami pa pong iba. It also gives skills and knowledge which is important for a person to live. Siyempre po, mahalaga yung knowledge kasi ayan po yung natututunan natin sa araw-araw na experience. And yung skills naman po, ayan yung ability to do something ng isang individual. Katulad po ng pagiging mekaniko, yun po ay isang ability ng isang individual na pwedeng ma-enhance at mahasapan ng mabuti. In 1986 described as the age of science and to develop community that will meet the goals of science in society. Dito naman po sa night, sinasabing nagsimulang mapabilis at ma-develop yung science. Kaya po siya na labeled as or tinaguri ang the age of science.
Science education in basic and tertiary education. In basic education, talaga namang malaking tulong ang science education to learn important concepts and facts that are related to our everyday life, including important skills such as process skills, critical thinking skills, and life skills that we really need naman talaga to survive our daily life basis or our daily life activities. Also, science education develops positive attitudes such as the love for knowledge, passion for innovative things, curiosity to study about nature, and creativity. So, possibly na ma-acquire ng mga students yung mga ganun skills and attitudes sa science education, which will develop a strong foundation for studying science and for considering science-related careers in the future. Na magkakaroon ng big impact sa Philippines because this is an investment for the country to develop a scientifically cultured and literate citizenry.
Science education in basic and tertiary education. Yung tertiary level, ibig sabihin nito yung mga college students. Tinutulungan nila yung mga teacher na i-pursue yung dream nila, tulad na lang na maging engineer, maging doctor, science teacher, or scientist. Since it's pandemic and no face-to-face classes, some courses, especially in medicine, can perform or demonstrate on what usually they do during face-to-face class. Katulad na lang yung pag-experiment and other activities na may kinalaman sa medicine. Pero ngayon, may ibang universities katulad na lang ng Santo Tomas na nag-open para sa face-to-face. Pero limited lang yung mga students. At they always observe the safety protocols katulad na lang ng wearing masks and social distancing. During elementary and high school, may science tayong subject. Ito, nakakatulong to para mag-curious tayo or malaman natin kung ano yung pwede nating kunin kapag tumuntong na tayo ng college. Yung mga schools, nag-o-offer sila ng mga scholarships to encourage more the aspiring students of science to pursue their dreams. Of course, when it comes to teaching and learning, there are some challenges or problems to encounter. Katulad na lang ng lack of tools and equipments na ginagamit para sa laboratory para mas ma-perform ng maayos or maunawaan yung specific na tasks. Yung mga textbooks na hindi updated or kulang sa mga resources at information. And the students who are lack of motivation to learn and the huge number of students of the class na nagiging problema ito kapag hindi na kayang mag-guide or ma-monitor ng teacher yung mga students. Kaya yung ibang school, mas gusto nila sa isang klase na 30 students lang. Yung solution ng DepEd ay magbigay ng seminars sa mga teachers para ma-gain yung knowledge nila sa pagtuturo specific sa science subject or hindi lang sa mga science subject. Dapat teachers should be analyzed the way they teach to know what is needed to improve. And DepEd distributed set of computers and televisions and equipments for learning materials.
Science School in the Philippines. One of the impressive program for science education is government-supported science school established in various parts of the country. Isa daw po sa magandang proyekto ng ating gobyerno is yung paglalaan nila ng pondo upang makapagpatayo ng science school sa iba't ibang parte ng ating bansa na nakatulong sa mga kabataan to enhance and to think more. There is also few government program achieved by Department of Education and few private school for science education. Nagtayo din daw po ng ilang scientificong paaralan ang Department of Education at ilang pribadong paaralan upang magkaroon ng science school na naging open door ng mga youths upang magkaroon ng kalidad na edukasyon. Here is the example of science school established in the Philippines. Philippine Science High School System, Special Science Elementary School, Quezon City Regional Science School, Manila Science High School, and Central Visayan Institute Foundation. Again, good day for everyone, and without further ado, let's talk about the topic which is the science school in the Philippines.
First school na i-discuss namin sa science schools in the Philippines is yung Philippine Science High School System. Ay, nag-include kami ng tatlong picture ng campuses ng PSHS sa Pilipinas, and andyan din included din yung logo nila. Philippine Science High School System is considered as a top science high school in the Philippines and also viewed among the best in ASEAN region. A specialized public school with 13 campuses in the Philippines that offers a world-class education, and not only that, nag-offer din sila ng free loan of textbooks, monthly allowance, uniform, transportation, living allowances for low-income groups, at saka yung dormitory accommodation para sa scholars nila. PSHS is supervised by the Department of Science and Technology or DOST for gifted students in the Philippines. So yung narinig ko tong word na gifted, parang ang lakas nyo makatalino na. Kasi diba kapag gifted, kapag nakikita natin sa movies, pag gifted ka, alam mo yung talino mo iba talaga, ganun. So, parang naging image niya sa akin, kailangan talagang matalino ka, masipag ka, and able to qualified for this school. In 2018, 91% ng PSHS scholars na nag-test sa UPCAT ay nag-qualified at nakapasa doon. Also, I have read some infos na dapat you're one of the best 10% ng batch mo para sure na makakapasok ka dito sa specialized school na to. If I remember it well, na-discuss to sa amin ng teacher ko, no LM, na she once visited the school and she observed na yung students, most of them naka-eyeglasses na mga kapal, and yung vocabulary nila sa English sobrang white daw, tsaka yung pronunciation nila maganda talaga. And ayun nga, masisipag mag-aral, usually have their books based on her description nung bumisita siya doon. Science and mathematics courses make up the core curriculum of PSHS. They brought honor to the Philippines through their exemplary achievements in various international competition and research circles. Ayan, may included na picture dyan ng participant nila sa Singapore International Science Challenge, and ayun, nagkamit sila ng prize dun. And then with private fundings, yung PSHS students successfully reap awards in international competition such as Taiwan International Science and Engineering Fair, Intel International Science and Engineering Fair, International P6 Olympiad, at madami pang iba. Ayun, kung mapapansin nyo, in-include dyan yung picture ni Mr. Atom Araulo. Journalist siya sa 7 ngayon. May show din siya eh. Pero alam ko dati nasa Channel 2 siya, so lumipat siya sa 7. Ayun lang. Isa siya sa well-known alumni ng Philippine Science High School System. Isa siyang Filipino journalist, model, television presenter, triathlete, occasional actor, and radio host. Isa din sa mga notable PSHS alumni si Adolfo Jesus Copes, president siya ngayon ng Piatti University. Si Rowena Guevara, first woman dean of the UP College Engineering. Si Reynaldo B. Vea, president of the Mapua Institute of Technology. Madami pang notable alumni ang PSHS, and hindi ko na lang include kasi masyadong madami.
The Special Science Elementary School Project, or SSES project, was implemented in 2007. Even though SSES project is a part of public school system, meron siyang differences or pinagkaiba sa regular elementary school in terms of selection process for students, qualification of teachers, and science curriculum. The SSES project is designed to develop grade school children with high aptitude in science and mathematics, or generally as stated by Wong Fernandez and Busto Orosa, mga batang angat, hindi pangkaraniwan o matalino. "57 selected public schools in 16 regions of the country participated in the pilot implementation of the SSES project. Yung mga public school na napili ay based on above average performance in the division, regional, and national achievement tests. And siguro familiar lahat tayo sa NAT or National Achievement Test na nabanggit. So yung mga test na sinunod na natin ng elementary, nagagamit pala dito as its basis. Next one is strong leadership of school head. I think yung mga observations na nangyayari in school as a whole when there are visitors, and kapag sinasabi ng mga teachers na wag labas ng elementary pa tayo, this is when higher ups grade the leadership of the school. Another one is the commitment of teachers and supportive parents and community. Siyempre kung student lang ang willing or committed dito and the teachers ay hindi, di rin magiging effective yung project. And another thing is the support of the parents and community. The project will not go well if there are parents or members of the community that is opposed to the idea. Lastly, the availability of facilities and equipment relevant to supporting science and technology. If the facility or equipment is non-existent, Then, sobrang liit lang ng change ng regular elementary school sa science elementary school. These three are the SSES project's mission. First is to provide learning environment to science-inclined children. Secondly is to promote the development of lifelong learning skills. And lastly, foster holistic development. This can be done through the SSES curriculum that utilizes varied teaching approaches or strategies. At ito ang ilan sa mga nabanggit. Practical work approach. Ang ibig sabihin lang nito ay instead of just using theories and memorizing terms, students will actually do an activity that will help them understand more the lesson. Next is interactive teaching learning. Dito naman, imbis na yung teacher lang magsasalita, may contribution and participation din ng students. Another one is independent learning or self-study. This is very self-explanatory. Instead of spoon-feeding in this approach, students will learn by themselves to encourage initiative and independence. I think it's safe to say na most schools or specifically elementary schools in our day, ina-exercise na yung mga ganitong approaches or strategies kahit na hindi science school yung pinapasukan natin, since I experienced this approach even today. In my opinion, these strategies are better than traditional teaching or learning because when a teacher directs students to learn through memorization and recitation techniques, it is probable na maging mahina ang critical thinking, problem solving, and decision skills ng isang estudyante. Next, the subject science is taught in longer period of time compared to other subjects in a science school. 70 minutes for grades 1 to 3 and 80 minutes for grades 4 to 6. Sa information na to, mas madaling makita na mas focus ang science school sa subject na science. Hence why it is called like that. Just a small recap to SSES project. This was implemented in 2007 and designed to develop grade school children with high aptitude in science and mathematics. There are 57 selected public schools in 16 regions of the country participated in the pilot implementation of the SSES project, and they are chosen based on the criteria I've stated earlier. Another thing is they have a mission that focuses on special curriculum. And lastly, they emphasize learning science by adding more time learning the subject in school hours.
The Quezon City Regional High School, or also known as QSI. Yung original name nito ay Quezon City Science High School at naging regional ito noong 1999. It is located in Bago Batay, Quezon City. It was founded on September 17, 1967. This idea of establishing school came from Herming Linda Garcia Marcate. They are more focused on science and technology. Pero may mga textbooks sila na binibigay na exclusive lang para sa mga students nila. At syempre, other pa rin sila ng DepEd at nagbe-base pa rin sila sa binibigay nito. At isa sila sa mga public school. The students must have a grade of 85% in a major subjects katulad ng math, English, science, and 83 in minor subjects. At para makapasok sa school ng QSI, ang major subjects mo daw ay dapat 85 at 83 naman sa minor noong elementary ka. Meron pa silang entrance exam na binibigay na kailangan mo ipasa at interview para ganap ka ng estudyante ng QSI. QSI is one of the national leaders in the field of mathematics competitions. Isa sila sa mga school na consistent na national leaders ng mathematics competition katulad na lang ng MTAP or Mathematics Teachers Association of the Philippines. The past 10 years ay may 4 silang nakuwang award na napanalunan nila sa Intel International Science and Engineering Fair na ginanap sa Portland, Oregon.
Manila Science High School or MSHS or mas kilala din sa tawag na MASAR. It is located on Taft Avenue at the corner of Padre Forest Street in Ermita, Manila. This school was established on October 1, 1963. So, ang Manila Science High School ay isa sa pinakaunang science high school dito sa ating bansa, sa Pilipinas. The organization and curriculum of the school puts more emphasis on science and mathematics. MSHS aims to produce scientists with soul. So, scientists with soul, paano nga ba sila makapag-produce ng ganon? So, currently, on their curriculum, they include some humanities courses and other electives. So, kita naman natin na hindi lang sila nagfo-focus more of science and math because they also include some humanities courses and electives sa kanilang curriculum. So, if you want to study sa Manila Science High School, the school administers an entrance exam na tinatawag nilang Manila Science High School Admission Test or MSAT. So, ano nga ba ang nilalaman ng Manila Science High School Admission Tests? So, this test includes aptitude in science, aptitude test in mathematics, problem-solving test in science, problem-solving test in mathematics, and proficiency in English. So, kita naman natin na hindi sila basta-basta nagpapapasok sa school na to. And when you enter their school, they will provide you quality education na talaga namang may enhance ka. So, because of that, the school prides itself from producing outstanding alumni and for winning various national competitions.
Central Visayas Institute Foundation Dynamic Learning Program or DLP is a program centered based on activity discipline learning that requires students to work independently. Meaning, more on activity yung way of teaching nila to unlock more critical skills and knowledge para sa mga student. It is a home and pioneer of proponent school-based innovation. Synthesis of classical and modern pedagogical theories adapted to foster the highest level of learning, creativity, and productivity, meaning a combination of classical and pedagogical theories. Ayan po yung mga ancient Greek, Latin, literature, arts, or culture. And punta naman po tayo sa brief history of Central Visayas Institute Foundation. Sometime in 1925, an American educator, Mr. Fred Warner, opened a secondary level school in town of Duero. It was called the Filipino-American High School because the faculty member were both American and Filipinos. Majority of the students came from the adjacent seaport town of Jagna, Bohol. In 1928, Filomeno O. Caseñas, the provincial governor at that time, took over the management of the school and transferred the same to Jagna, his hometown. He dedicated the school to the poor families of Jagna and the neighboring towns who could not afford send their children to Tagbilaran, the provincial capital. And daw po, yung Tagbilaran po, ayun po yung capital ng Bohol po. Research Center for Theoretical Physics or RCTP. Research Center for Theoretical Physics is established in December 27, 1992. Organized small international workshop to encourage the informal but intense exchange of ideas and perspective. Ayun po, ini-encourage daw po nila yung pagpapalitan ng mga idea and perspective in terms of physics and mathematics. Nilulunsad nila yon kasi po, syempre po, dagdag knowledge, dagdag kaalaman, kumbaga bago po lahat. The workshop features pedagogical review and research level lectures, focusing on new concept methods and techniques used to investigate current problem of quantum physics, biophysics, complex system, and various non-linear phenomena, among others. Ayun daw po, yun daw po ay nag-aano ng mga review ng mga research level lectures focusing sa mga bagong konsepto. Nag-iimbestigan din daw po ng mga problema at non-linear phenomenon.
Science education deals with the teaching and learning of science and in helping the public develop science literacy. This is important in the promotion and development of science and technology in the country. Science education deals with the development of people in science, which is the heart of science, technology, and society. This lesson focused on discussing the concept of science education and introduced science education in the Philippines from basic education to tertiary education. To promote science education, science schools were established to develop gifted students in science and mathematics, such as the Philippine Science High School System, Manila Science High School, Quezon City Regional Science High School, and the Special Science Elementary Schools project. Science programs and projects were organized and developed to nurture innovation in science in the country and to encourage individuals to pursue careers and research in science and technology.
Hi, I'm Maria Alex Simon G. Albao, one of the presenters. I hope you learned something about science education and why is it important to us. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dayan D. De La Fuente. I sincerely appreciate that we have this opportunity to present to you. Thank you for your time and attention. We hope you find our presentation interesting and knowledgeable. Thank you.
Good day guys, My name is Tommy M. Rosalio. We sincerely appreciate your attention for today until the very end. I'd like to thank all of you for listening. And that's all we have for today's presentation. Again, thank you for lending your time, interest, and attention. We hope you learned something about today's topic. Have a good day and always be safe.
I'm John Carl Blancaflor. I hope our group's discussion isn't too boring for you, and I thank you for the time you spent listening to us.
And lastly, I am Patrick Elordio de la Cruz, one of the presenters for today, and also the leader of Group 1. We hope that you learned something from our lesson for today, and we want to thank you all for listening to us. Thank you so much.